Greetings, everyone. It's great to be with you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm very thankful for your attendance, participation, and all that you do in the way of service in developing us mystical students. At this time, we'll have a presentation following up on the theme of the temple. The Temple Sevens, Sir Christopher Wren and the building of St. Paul's Cathedral. In this way, too, I want to bring up a slide to share with you that will show the awe-inspiring nature of the concept of the temple. You'll recognize this work, Nicomedes Gomez's work, The Temple of Man or the Temple of the Human, also having the title Know Thyself. In a way, it has in an encyclopedic and in a way, a description of what it is to be a human, what is the fundamental meaning of the temple as a deep connecting principle in all that we see, do, and inwardly experience. In this regard, we'll experience again the awe-inspiring concept of the temple and how to become a master in the holy temple, the body, and a worker in the divine laboratory, the cosmos. We'll continue to explore the Rosicrucian laws and principles applied by the concept and experience of the temple. We do so by considering the remarkable natural philosopher, astronomer, geometer, and architect, Sir Christopher Wren. We will particularly focus on his momentous work on the design and building of St. Paul's Cathedral in London, England. This presentation is also a follow-up on a Rosicrucian Digest article from March 1979 entitled Sir Christopher Wren, Rosicrucian with a Vision of the Future by Sarita Glassenberg. And I'll give you a reference for that, as well as this painting by Nicomedes Gomez. As we prepare for our presentation on the temple, and particularly one particular great instance of it, St. Paul's Cathedral, you'll note in this inspiring painting before us, in a way, it's a diagram of ourselves as a microcosm merging into the macrocosm. You'll see the law of correspondence applied, because you'll see a great temple, not exactly the same as St. Paul's Cathedral, but suggestive of it with its dome and its lantern here. So you have the human body as the temple. The Rosicrucians say the holy temple. You'll see the ribs and the joints here, for example, various bone structure. We'll also see the fires here of our trials and tribulations, but also the alchemical processes that go on in the physical and subtle physiology of the human being. The caduceus here, associated with the special centers in the bodies that the Rosicrucians study called psychic centers. We have the relationship too with the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. We have various signs and symbols to do with alchemy and the planets. We also have here enlightenment associated traditionally in the Rosicrucian with the pineal gland, bringing down the highest rates of vibration, the cosmic keyboard, and the dove figure here with the ascent of consciousness, but also the descent and living it out in our lives. And the great radiations of light in the sense of the stars and the heavenly bodies, suggesting the macrocosm and the cosmos, they're all mirrored each other through the law of correspondence. We'll apply these points as we go through the particular instance of the St. Paul's Cathedral, but also we'll apply what we're seeing before us now in a meditation exercise. The Rosicrucians are very practical. We want to put into practice what we learn, and that way we come in the deepest learning through firsthand direct experience. We know far more what the concepts mean and how to apply them in service. That way they're transformed and we are transformed. I invite you this time to meditate with me. We will rise up into the heights of the celestial sanctum together. First, though, I invite you to get comfortable in your chair, or you're lying down, wherever you're situated. Just enjoy the gentle rhythm of your breath. Your eyes, invite you to close your eyes. Let go of the outer visual stimuli now, having been inspired by a work of art. Just enjoy the gentle rhythm of the breath in harmony with the octave after octave of the cosmic keyboard, the great sea of vibrations, the microcosm and macrocosm. The mastery of the breath is part of the mastery of life and living in harmony, central to the Rosicrucian teachings, practice, and purpose. I invite you to extend your exhalation a little longer than your inhalation. And that automatically bring about what's referred to today as the relaxation response, the stimulation of the great vagus nerve working with the autonomic nervous system. Just work with the physical and subtle physiology of the body that was depicted in the painting that we're looking at by the traditional Rosicrucian Nicomedes Gomez. In a way, we're becoming that painting and what it symbolizes. One of the wonderful health effects of meditation is that it allows us to become more sensitive. We can feel the vital life force, the VLF, coursing through our body, flowing through our body. I think you'll now feel an enhanced tingling effect of the positive polarity of vital life force known as the cosmic essence. That tingling is a very healing effect, very wholesome, making whole effect. It's used as part of the various methods of healing applied by the Rosicrucians, both contact healing, but also metaphysical aid, which we'll have time to do soon. Because I want us to have a very direct experience of the concept of the temple. And indeed, mysticism. By that term, we mean the art and science of love. The direct experience of existence. The full maturation or the full growing up of the human being. Realizing being one with the one. The entry into all love and all knowledge. Full rapport with the consciousness of the cosmic or cosmic consciousness. Being one with the divine, fully identified and surrendered to the divine. And thereby able to act out in harmony and mastery and service. This and much more is back the meaning of mysticism and taught to us practical applications in our weekly lessons of the Rosicrucians. What's referred to as our home sanctum, in other words, a micro temple within our home. Let us just continue reflecting on these profound points as we enjoy the gentle rhythm of the breath, particularly feeling the increased calming effect when we extend our exhalation. Feel the equanimity, the imperturbability, increasing sense of peace, deep sense of peace known to Rosicrucians as peace profound. Let us continue to work with the concept of the temple, now the holy temple, the body. Let's continue our meditation session not only through the breathing exercise, concentrating on various parts of the holy temple. I invite you now to concentrate on the tips of your toes. You may wish to picture a great white light there, radiating from the holy temple. The tips of your toes sense they're the wondrous structure which this temple is built. The electrons, the neutrons, the positrons, quarks in the quark, the atoms, the molecules, the RNA and the DNA, the cells, the blood vessels. As we move through our toes, the hair and the flesh, the circulatory system, blood, vitalizing the holy temple. Move into the foot, the joints, sole of the foot, the ankle, the arch. As we move up through our lower legs, a wondrous symmetry, the holy temple that we are. Up through into our knees. You wish to picture the joints, tendon, cartilage, the sinew, blood, the hair, all those constituent parts. Increasingly feel the tingling effect of the vital life force. It's always flowing there. Through this meditation exercise, we become more sensitive to it and help charge it, enliven it, enrich it. This is important work in the holy temple. Concentrate on specific parts of your body as we move up into the thighs, the upper legs. Experience the holy temple of body anew, fresh. It's our birthright. Move now to the mid part of your body. The solar plexus. Feel where you're lying or situated in the seat. Moving gradually up into the organs, but also the base of the spine. To the lower vital organs, digestive tract, kidney, spleen, so forth. Sense their harmonious actions, the way the music of the body spoken of since ancient times. Gradually move up the spine, charging sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous systems. Gradually up towards the great heart center, wondrous seat of emotions, psychic impressions of deep heartfelt nature. Sense how the blood is flowing through the heart, through the holy temple of the body. The upper level of the spine, the chest, the ribs. The wondrous system and order of all in the microcosm. There's to rise up higher to the thymus. Continue to extend your exhalation, visualizing beautiful radiating white light as we move through the holy temple. Up into the upper chest and the upper part of the back, to the shoulders. And once you reach the shoulders, I invite you to focus on the tips of your fingers, and we'll go through our fingers and arms just like we went through our toes and our feet and legs. Feel the charge of the vital life force to the tips of the fingers, the white light moving through our hands and all the great work they do for us. Being co-creators with the divine, co-creators with the cosmic mind. We move through the hand, palm, the back of the hand, the thumb, to the wrists, various forms of energy moving through our body, the circulatory system, the nervous system, and more. We move up through the lower arms, joint of our elbows, sinew, cartilage, back and front of the elbow and inside. Moving now out into the upper arm, the bicep, the armpit, the joint, the arm connecting with our shoulders. We gradually come back to where we left off. Gradually move towards the base of the neck where you may wish to concentrate for a while. A great nexus of nerves there. So we tune with the higher rates of vibrations of the cosmic keyboard. We go up octave after octave after octave. Gradually move up through the neck, throat, maybe the nervous system connections up the base of the brain, our mouths, lower joint, gums, the teeth, the lower jaw, the upper jaw, gums, teeth. We move through the back of our skulls, lower part of the brain, rising up gradually to upper lip and our nose, and feel the air coming and going there, charged with the vital life force, each incoming breath. Increase relaxation with each outgoing breath. Sensing the increasing presence of the master within, the Hierophant, guide of the holy temple. Sense your eyes, space between them, the third eyes, the eyelids, eyebrows, and move from the third eye back into the brain region, first with the pituitary gland, its great regulatory actions on our behalf. And then higher up again to the pineal gland, known traditionally as the seat of the soul. Great damp down of the highest rates of vibration of the cosmic keyboard through it. Let us concentrate on it and the pituitary gland one at a time. Hence their functioning and our health and attunement with the cosmic thereby. You've completed your concentrations on the pituitary gland, move to the pineal gland. Feel it vibrating. Working with the master within, the great housing of the holy temple. When you're ready, move up and higher up into the brain, forehead, scalp, and the hair. We'll continue our meditation session applying instructions of the booklet Liber 777. You recall the number 777 at the base of the temple depicted in the artwork by Gomez. It's an illusion and part this main instructional booklet for meditation, Liber 777. Indeed, Nicomedes Gomez's esoteric paintings were emulations of his cosmic experiences at the heights of the celestial sanctum where we're headed for now. And like Gomez, will bring back from that high point of spirituality and consciousness inspiration, answers to our questions, healing for ourselves and others, modeling ourselves and emulating cosmic. This way we'll come into the deepest sense of mission and purpose in life, the deepest sense of well-being, greatest depth of understanding, the greatest knowing, most expansive form of love. And to take this operation, the work and worship of the Rosicrucian Order Amorc now, I invite you to say with me the following prayer and invocation. May the divine essence of the cosmic infuse my being and cleanse me of all impurities of mind and body, that I may enter the celestial sanctum and attune in pureness and in worthiness. So mote it be. Now let's use all our inner psychic faculties and imaginative capacity to picture ourselves rising up from our home or dwelling or office building. Up over the work of architecture is below us. Now we're going faster and faster. Our neighborhoods below us. Even our town or city, geographic area, and rise out from our province or state, even our great nation or country, up past our continent, the hemisphere we dwell, and out even from the beautiful blue jewel of the earth, rotating about its axis. And let us look up and see the solar system and great fiery ball of the sun, and other planets as we speed up faster and faster, way beyond the speed of light as we transcend space and time. Keep rising up higher and higher, sensing the great arm of the Milky Way galaxy, our local home, and the great rotation of the galaxy about its center. As we exit the Milky Way galaxy, rise higher and higher into the vastness of space, suggesting passage from the finite plane to the infinite plane, from earthly consciousness to celestial consciousness. Let's continue to rise higher and higher, faster and faster, enjoying the exhilaration of the ascent. Soon we'll come to a personal sacred space, a celestial sanctum, the great vastness of the universe, and the vastness of consciousness, both within us and without, as one. And as you come to your personal celestial sanctum, come to a stop, look around you. There's stupendous harmony and order of the universe, filling its name as the cosmos. I invite you now to visualize your personal celestial sanctum, a wondrous sacred space, this high point of consciousness. You may wish to visualize it like the painting of Nicomedes Gomez, or as a wondrous place in nature, sacred grove, hilltop or mountaintop, by a lake shore or seashore, something suggestive of the great harmony and order of the universe and the cosmic keyboard. Maybe an expansive view. Or you may wish to visualize it as a cathedral like St. Paul's Cathedral in London, or a great temple in various traditions of sacred nature of the world. Fill in the sights and sounds and the symbolism, their stained glass window, like mystical Rosicrucian laws there, maybe incense rising up, suggesting the great rising to the heights of the celestial sanctum we just accomplished. You wish to visualize there too other seekers on this conference call with us. The Grand Lodge and Supreme Grand Lodge officers, the Rosicrucian Order may be conducting special ritual at the heights of the celestial sanctum. Visible and invisible masters, all seekers. Fill in the impressions, the uplifting vibrations, great sense of love and well-being, great sense of peace profound and knowingness. And when you filled in your visualization, release it and surrender. Be fully receptive to the divine within. In doing this, let's apply now the law of silence and the law of cosmic attunement. To feel all there is to feel. to come into the knowing of all there is to know. To come into the unifying, stupendous love of all. To surrender. Be receptive. Let go. Let flow. Now, having risen to the heights of the celestial sanctum, itself a temple, within the temple of the divine, I invite you to participate in a further spiritual operation of the work and worship of the Rosicrucian Order Emork. Let's conduct a period of sending of metaphysical aid. Let us radiate love and well-being as part of the silent council in conjunction with the Council of Solace, the Rosicrucian Order Emork. To all those who have petitioned the Grand Lodge for guidance and healing, and all those who have petitioned the affiliate bodies, the Rosicrucian Order Emork, for guidance and healing, and to all those you know are in need of guidance and healing, and all sentient beings throughout the cosmos who are in need of guidance and healing. Radiate now from the depths of your being the aid of the divine within. Great rays of light, of love and well-being to all in need, like a great floodlight going forth, filling the cosmos. Just let it flow with tremendous rapidity. First, use great inner strength and energy to do this. The assistance of the divine within. And gradually, I think you'll find that it no longer needs conscious effort. It may even speed up knowing you're reaching those in need. And when that happens, just continue to surrender and let the flow of love and well-being issue forth as part of our mission in life. Soon we'll formally conclude this period of work of the Silent Council in conjunction with the Council of Solace. But we'll continue our period of meditation a while longer. formally conclude the period of sending metaphysical aid, assured that it will continue as a way of life. I invite you to say with me, if it pleases the cosmic, it is done. So mote it be. The participants, let us dwell the heights of the celestial sanctum, the center of the cosmos, the center of our being a while longer. Experiencing the cosmic consciousness. That is back of all expressions of consciousness. Soon will descend from the heights of the celestial sanctum. Before we do so, you may wish to invoke the law of gratitude and thankfulness to all those who have taught us well, all those who have loved us well, all those who have sacrificed well on our behalf, all those who assisted in our learning. With this great gratitude radiated to them, let us begin the descent from the heights of the celestial sanctum, using great inner spiritual strength again, move with great rapidity way beyond the speed of light, through the vastness, the finite plane into from the infinite plane, and see in the distance myriad stars and nebula, galaxies, and even our local home, the Milky Way galaxy. We come to it, let's plunge into the great arm where we dwell, past the myriad stars and stellar phenomena, cosmic web connecting the stars, galaxies, and see in the distance our local star, the sun, a solar system, beautiful blue jewel of the earth, the hemisphere where we left off, a continent, great nation or country, province and state. The landforms, cityscape, our local geographic area, town, or city, a neighborhood where we left off. Before we conclude our meditation, I invite you to say with me the following prayer and invocation. May the God of my heart sanctify this attunement of self with the celestial sanctum, so mote it be. Let us continue to ascend further, the dwelling our office building we left off, the room that we're in, how we're situated. You may wish to stretch and open your eyes and feel remade, re-energized, rested, and regenerated. Thank you, everyone. Now you'll see before you an image I think many of you will know well and have visited. St. Paul's Cathedral in London, England. In a way, this presentation will be about Christopher Wren, a traditional Rosicrucian, and this great edifice. But on a deeper level, it'll be an allegory about ourselves and our own lives, living as a holy temple, housing the master within. The latter is our true nature that we increasingly identify in as we grow and mature. In a way, this outer sign through this great cathedral helps us in that attunement and that realization. And the same with any temples. You notice beautiful white Portland stone, type of limestone formation. It came by water in the tons for this great construction. This is a sacred site going back into antiquity. Before this structure, there was a great Anglo-Norman Romanesque cathedral following the conquest of England by William I. It was a huge church as well, just as this one is. In fact, this church is 158 meters in length. They prefer 518 feet long. It rises up from the ground level 111 meters, or 365 feet, which some postulate may symbolize the number of days in a year as intended by Sir Christopher Wren as a professor of astronomy. Wren was incarnated from 1632 to 1723. He was the chief architect of this great edifice throughout his life. It started in 1669. It was officially finished in 1711. The impetus for its building, as well as many other churches, 50 churches in London, was through the Great Fire that occurred there in 1666. There was an opportunity for a great rebuilding of London at that time. Wren's father, also known as Christopher Wren, has royal connections. So Christopher grew up actually with royalty. And as a child, he played with Charles II, who would later become King of England. Charles living from 1630 to 1685. Christopher Wren was very close with Charles II. He had the highest level of patronage. Christopher Wren was even able to pass on to Charles II various special documents and signs and symbols of the Knights of the Garter, a sacred order of knighthood that continues to this day. It's a mystical tradition back of it. But Elias Ashmole, a traditional Rosicrucian, wrote a history of it. Now, Sir Christopher Wren became what is known as the Surveyor General of the King's work. So he's overseen as a chief architect, works in London and beyond. Down to this day, this cathedral has had a great importance. During World War II, fire marshals seek the advice of the Prime Minister at the time, Sir Winston Churchill. How do you wish us to work in terms of fires and bombings there in this area of London and all the buildings there and dwellings there? And Churchill was quite emphatic. He said to them, St. Paul's must be saved at all costs because it's such a great symbol of our nationhood and the triumph of the human spirit. Indeed, for workers and craftspersons on a temple, we know from St. Paul's and other cathedrals that it was a great honor to work on a cathedral. In a way, it was often a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, not only because there was great patronage and expense being done, and you could do things to the finest, were expected to be done to the finest quality, but in a way, it was a spiritual operation spoken of in the sacred tradition associated with this, the Christian's Holy Bible, that our work on a cathedral, particularly, was that we were building up the holy temple within ourselves. We were building edifice, and hence the deep meaning to be edified. And this is to be matched in all things that we do in our life. We're doing a great work of edification, whether we're craftspersons or not, whatever we do by way of service. Let us have a look through St. Paul's Cathedral. But to do this, Sir Christopher Wren certainly didn't build this cathedral on his own. He had a tremendous workforce with him, surveyors, the king's work. And he was very fortunate to have an excellent architect who worked with him as an architect, Nicholas Hawksmoor. And this is a plan or ground plan of the cathedral as a plan for it to be built. You'll note the checker pattern floor, which is part of its symbolism or iconography. You'll see the transepts here and the choir, the dome, the great arms. We have the forming of the human body, not only of Yeshua as the Christ principle, but also of our own body as being a holy temple. Put these together, you'll see the structure here matching up with each other, with the transepts here and the dome, the choir with the singing, particularly concentrated, but also throughout the cathedral. Great entrance here from what's for the symbolic of the liturgical west, passing through the nave from the idea of the navel or the vessel, a great journey, just like we made a great journey, the lights of the celestial sanctum, through to the dome, and then to the sacred place associated with the high altar. Here you'll see the great liturgical or symbolic west facade of the cathedral. You see the two main elevations with the columns and the orders and their plinths, the pediments, and various iconography or symbols associated with the Bible and Christian traditions. The way that the temple is meant to be a great story of its particular spiritual philosophy. And we'll see the towers and the spires, and this temple was a great symbol of spirituality for miles around. It dominated the landscape, and that was its intention, part of the rebuilding of London. Just like our home sanctums, our spiritual center in our home, St. Paul's was one of the great centers for the English nation and also for the city of London, along with Westminster Abbey. Here we've come in the west front doors and we see the beautiful expanse of the nave. And you'll note the checker pattern of the floor. Goes back to its original structure. I know for many of you, there's a deep meaning and underlying significance for the checkered floor. You can see the marble here, and both in the black and the white for the monuments that harmonize well with the black and white of the checkered floor. We see up to the far down into the choir, the heights up into the dome, the great circular vault. We see the great piers and plinths here, and the screen of the arch for the aisles. To bring this out a little further, let me show it to you with Hawksmoor's plan under the guidance of Wren. Part of the symbolism of the black and white tiles is a depiction of both the, say in the spiritual tradition, the good and the evil, the harmonious and the inharmonious. With respect to the white and for the harmonious and the black for the inharmonious. These are symbolic terms. Also, befittingly, there's a poetic work by George Herbert entitled The Temple. It dates from 1633. So predating by several decades, this work, but it could be something that Wren would be was in the milieu of. And part of it says, in regard to the church floor, the church floor, which is also, I promise, extremely cool. Mark you the floor, the square and speckled stone would look so firm and strong is patience, and the other black and grave, wherewith each one is checkered all along humility. So you see the black and white tiles, they're invoking virtues of those who've come in this great temple and cultivate those virtues. And the architect for Herbert in this series of poems also do double duty as structuring the guiding hand the stand-in for the divine. We also know that Wren, as a traditional Rosicrucian, was also a Freemason and held to have been a master of a lodge nearby. And there, traditionally checkered floors are used in their temples, as well as a great star. And Nicholas Hawksmoor would later become a Mason as well on that. And part of this checkers associate the temple with the great temple of antiquity in the Bible, the Temple of Solomon. In a way, the Christian adherents are reenacting their sacred text, living it out, clothing their impressions in their own day and time. Let's continue to move down through the sacred vessel eastward and look up into the great dome here. It's very beautiful and inspiring. It's wondrous that this dome is actually the inner dome. When I showed you the structure outwardly, that's the outer or third dome. Between the outer dome and the inner dome, there's an intermediary dome, the third dome, that's based on a catenary structure. Similar to, if you think of a hanging chain, if it gets inverted, that's a catenary structure. It's somewhat like a parabola, somewhat like how a projectile flies through the air, but it's different again from the parabola. And Wren and the inspired scientists with Wren, because Wren was a brilliant polymath, astronomer, mathematician, anatomist, inventor, and he was a founder of the president of the Royal Society. Royal Society has its early origins from certain Rosicrucians. And Hooke and Wren realized that the strongest structure for their dome would be this inverted catenary, or the equivalent of the shape from a hanging chain. And they used that to hold up the great stone weight of the dome, and I'll show you more about it shortly. You notice the 8-fold and 16-fold symmetry here. There's also depictions from various sacred stories of the Bible, and also things to do with the titular saint, or the saint that which this church was named after, Paul. Paul was a mystic. On the road to Damascus, he had his own experience of cosmic consciousness, just as we had him when he ascended to the heights of celestial sanctum, and then went out in a line of service. So you see, in a way, depicted in this great temple, the story of the mystical path. We also see in the iconography of great temples and domes in particular, that the dome was a symbol of heaven, the celestial realm that we ascended into. And in doing this dome, Wren had traveled to see St. Peter's Basilica's great dome in Rome. And he also knew about the Pantheon dome from antiquity, and Hagia Sophia's great dome in Constantinople, now Istanbul, but also about the wondrous Del Duomo dome in the Cathedral by Bernini. These were great references to this temple in London, making itself a great center, not only like Rome, but also in the Christian center of Jerusalem as well. Let us continue further. We'll see, as we can look down now further east into the choir, you see where the singing go. People who are in choirs over time, they learn how to sing in each building because it'll have its unique acoustics. And that way it works with vibration, just like the different proportions and geometry in building form a visual music. So the auditory music would take part of that, as well as the great organ that was placed in the cathedral at the time of its building, and later additions to it. You'll see down it toward the end here, there's like a baldacchino and a canopy, which is a reference to St. Peter's, baldacchino and St. Peter's in Rome. But we also, as a sacred place of Christians, and also the Master Yeshua as the Christ in majesty here, and further domes suggestive of the heavenly. Let us continue a ways further. We'll come down now into the crypt. And in the crypt, there's actually more than 200 memorials. The one we're seeing here right now is for one of the major figures in later English history. You'll recognize Horatio Nelson or Lord Nelson, and you'll see the centralized structure around the memorial, and also the beautiful mosaic. In this part of in the memorials in this temple cathedral, the first memorial was befittingly to Sir Christopher Wren. He was interred there in 1723. And on the wall above his tomb in the crypt, there's a Latin expression which translated into Latin is befittingly, reader, if you seek his monument, look around you. So let's go back outside now and look up at the outer dome and take in its structure, and you'll see other figures to do with the saintly work of Christians modeled here. The way the temple is meant to be a model for our own way of life and living. Around the dome structure, this is the outer dome of the three, there is a great iron chain that actually holds the weight of the forces running down here, working the law of gravity. Instead of it buckling outward, it's held in by a great structure of stone masonry, wood, and a great iron chain. It was a very ingenious idea with Hooke and Wren, in addition to the catenary structure that takes forces downward in the most efficient way. Also, on this cathedral, there's a very intriguing sculpture. There's a great significance to Rosicrucians. There's a symbol here of resurgam, or resurgam, the Latin for resurrection, the association with rebirth of the phoenix, rising from the ashes, the trials and tribulations of mystical path, coming into a new way of life in the realization of the cosmic. The story is that Wren received from a worker a stone that was from the original graveyard around the cathedral, and it had this word resurgam, and that was his inspiration for this, as well as St. Paul's Cathedral and the other churches that he was designing, 50 in number, and other buildings around London, that they were rising from the ashes of the Great Fire of London in 1666. Befittingly, I know many of you know the work entitled So Mote It Be by Imperator Emeritus Christian Barnard, which has on its cover, befittingly, the phoenix rising, which we're called to in our own life, and is suggested by this great temple. Here I wanted to show you the great west facade again, beside the painting that we started with, and Nicomedes commenced. In a way, we've applied our Rosicrucian teachings in this painting to this particular temple of St. Paul's Cathedral. The Rosicrucian order is not a religion, but it allows us to have a deeper understanding of all the manifestations, including those from the deep spirituality of the world religions. At this time, I'll ask Karen to paste in the chat for you some resources. And I will do the concluding statement. So, on the concept of the temple in Sir Christopher Wren's building of St. Paul's Cathedral, we've experienced again the awe-inspiring concept of the temple and how to become a master in the holy temple of the body. and a work in the divine laboratory, the cosmos. And we've continued to explore Rosicrucian laws and principles applied by the concept and experience of the temple. And we particularly done this through a traditional Rosicrucian's magnum opus and part of his mission in life, Sir Christopher Wren. And we focused on his momentous St. Paul's Cathedral, somewhat like the dome structure here in the painting before us. And we applied a meditation exercise to enliven these keys for self-mastery and service in our daily lives. Thank you, everyone.